It started with a punch that broke my knuckles, and a laugh that broke the silence. People thought I was insane, but that was just Monday for me. Trouble wasn't just something I found, it clung to me like the scent of gasoline. And then he walked in, Coach Carter. Ice in his eyes, iron in his voice, like he had been carved out of discipline itself. Everyone froze when he spoke. Everyone except me. I should have hated him. He made me run laps until I puked, benched me from games when I mouthed off, and stared me down like I was nothing more than another broken case file. But something about him burned. Not the way a cigarette burns your throat, but the way the sun burns when you realize you've been living in shadows too long. Nobody knew what it felt like to be the kid who raised hell at school because it was easier than admitting you were already burning inside. Nobody except him. Somehow, he saw through the noise, through the fights, through the smirks and late-night detentions. He saw me, and God, I hated that. The first time he pulled me aside after practice, sweat dripping down my neck, I thought it was to lecture me again. Instead, his voice dropped, low and steady. "You're better than this," he said. I laughed in his face. Better than what? Winning games? Breaking rules? Tell me, Coach, what am I supposed to be? His jaw tightened. He didn't answer, but the silence told me more than words ever could. That was the beginning. People whispered about me in the halls. Some called me a delinquent. Some called me hot. Both were true, I guess. But they didn't know about the way my chest twisted every time I caught Coach's eyes lingering a second too long. The way his hand brushed mine when he handed me the basketball, steady and warm, like a promise he couldn't say out loud. I thought I could keep it casual. Tease him, push his buttons, drive him crazy the way I did with everyone else. But the thing-ish didn't break. He never broke. Until the night I did. It was raining hard, the kind of storm that makes the world feel like it's ending. I'd gotten into another fight, this one bad enough to leave me bleeding from my lip and shaking with adrenaline. Coach found me behind the gym, soaked, fists still trembling. "Jesus Christ," he muttered, pulling me up by the arm. "You're going to kill yourself at this rate." I should have shoved him away. I should have laughed it off. But my chest cracked open and the words came spilling out before I could stop them. "Why do you even care?" His eyes softened, then so quick I almost missed it. His thumb brushed against the blood at the corner of my mouth, careful, almost trembling. "Because someone should." And that was it. The moment everything I thought I knew about myself fell apart. I used to think love was a weakness, something soft people clung to because they couldn't fight for themselves. But standing there, dripping wet in the storm with his hand on my face, I realized I'd been wrong all along. Love wasn't weakness. Love was terrifying. Because what if I let myself fall? What if I ruined him the way I ruined everything else I touched? But when his lips brushed mine hesitant, almost a question, I didn't care. For the first time, I didn't want to be the kid who burned everything down. I wanted to be something else. Something only he made me feel I could be. That was only the beginning of our story. Coach Carter didn't kiss me again that night. He pulled back so fast you'd think he'd touched fire. His jaw clenched, his eyes locked on mine, and for a second the only sound between us was the storm pounding the roof above. "This can't happen," he muttered, his voice more to himself than to me. His hand dropped from my face, leaving my skin colder than the rain ever could. I wanted to laugh. I wanted to shove him and call him a coward. But instead, the words fell out sharp and honest. "Then why did you?" He didn't answer. He just walked away, leaving me with the taste of him still on my lips and a storm raging harder inside my chest than the one outside. The next morning at school, everything looked the same, but nothing felt the same. The lockers still slammed. The cheerleaders still squealed. Teachers still glared when I strolled into class 10 minutes late. But every time I saw Coach in the hallway, my stomach flipped like I was on a roller coaster I couldn't get off. He avoided me. I noticed it immediately. His eyes, always sharp and commanding during practice, never landed on me for more than a second. When he barked orders, his voice didn't soften at my name anymore. He treated me like everyone else. Killed me. I picked a fight during lunch just to feel something. Some idiot shoved me near the vending machine and I gave him the excuse he was looking for. My fist connected with his jaw before I could even think. The whole cafeteria erupted. But even as teachers pulled me off, even as my knuckles split open again, All I could think about was whether Coach would hear about it. Whether he'd care. He did. That evening, when I was called into his office, I expected the usual lecture. Maybe even suspension. But when I pushed the door open, Coach was sitting behind his desk, his hands steepled in front of him, eyes burning through me. "Sit," he said. I smirked, sliding into the chair across from him. "Miss me already, Coach? Wipe that grin off your face." His tone was sharp, but his eyes flickered, betraying something else. Frustration. Fear. Maybe something deeper. "What the hell were you thinking? Another fight? You're on thin ice, you know that?" I leaned back in the chair, feigning boredom, but my pulse was racing. "You think I care? They'll just bench me. Same as always." His hand slammed against the desk, startling me. "You think this is a game? You're throwing your life away. And for what? To look tough in front of a bunch of kids who don't give a damn about you." I stared at him, chest tight. The anger in his voice wasn't the usual kind. It wasn't cold discipline. It was raw, messy, desperate, like he cared too much. "Why do you care?" I whispered again, softer this time. He looked at me like he hated me for asking, like he hated himself more for not being able to answer. His jaw worked, his fists clenched, and finally he exhaled. "Because I see you," he said quietly. "I see the kid who hides behind fights and smirks because it's easier than admitting he's scared. And I know what that feels like." The room went silent. My throat burned. Nobody had ever said something like that to me. Nobody had ever dared. I should have gotten up. I should have walked out. But instead, I leaned forward, elbows on my knees, eyes locked on his. "Then stop pretending you don't." His breath caught. For one suspended moment, we just stared at each other, the air thick with everything unsaid. And then, like always, he pulled back. "You need to go," he said hoarsely. I left, but this time it wasn't with a smirk. It was with a fire in my chest that wouldn't burn out. Practice the next day was brutal. Coach worked us harder than ever, laps, drills, push-ups until our arms shook. But it wasn't just about discipline. I could feel it. He was running from something. From me. I pushed myself harder than anyone, not to prove a point to the team, but to him. Every time I caught his gaze flicker to me, my chest tightened. He wanted me to stop, to give up, to quit chasing the impossible. But I couldn't. Not anymore. After practice, I lingered in the locker room, waiting until the others cleared out. The air smelled of sweat and disinfectant, the hum of the showers echoing off tile. When Coach finally walked in, clipboard in hand, he froze at the sight of me sitting on the bench, still in uniform. "You should be gone by now," he said flatly. I stood, closing the distance between us slowly. "Why? You afraid of being alone with me?" His throat bobbed. "You're out of line." I smirked, though inside I was shaking. "Maybe, but tell me I'm wrong." He didn't. He just stood there, chest rising and falling, eyes darting between mine and the space where my hand hovered dangerously close to his arm. "Say it," I whispered. "Say you don't feel anything." His lips parted, but no words came out. And in that silence, I knew. I reached out, fingers brushing his sleeve. His breath hitched, and for a moment he didn't move. Didn't stop me. His eyes softened in a way that made my heart lurch. But then he stepped back, as if the touch burned him. "This can't happen," he said again, voice rough. I swallowed hard. "Then why does it feel like it already has?" His gaze broke. He turned away, leaving me standing there with my chest wide open, bleeding from something no fist had ever given me. The weeks that followed were a blur of tension. He avoided me, I chased him. He built walls, I tore them down. It was a dangerous game, one that could ruin us both. But somewhere in the push and pull, in the stolen glances and near touches, something shifted. I started showing up to practice early. Started running drills without being told. Started trying. For him. And I think he noticed. One night, after everyone else had gone, he found me shooting hoops alone in the gym. Sweat clung to my skin, the ball echoing off the hardwood. When he walked in, I froze. "Can't stay away, can you?" I teased, though my voice cracked. He sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. "You're different lately." I shrugged, bouncing the ball once. "Maybe I'm tired of being the screw-up." His eyes softened. "Or maybe you're finally letting yourself be who you are." I met his gaze, heart pounding. "And who's that?" His voice was quiet, but steady. "Someone worth saving." The ball slipped from my hands. The gym went silent. And before I knew it, I was crossing the court, closing the distance between us until I could feel his breath on my skin. "Then save me," I whispered. This time he didn't pull away. His lips crashed into mine, hard and desperate, like he'd been holding back for far too long. My hands tangled in his shirt, his arms wrapped around me, and for the first time, I didn't feel like I was burning everything down. I felt like I'd finally found where I belonged. That night changed everything. The first kiss should have been enough to scare us both back into our corners. We should have pretended it never happened, shoved it into the dark and left it there. But once a line is crossed, there's no going back. That night in the empty gym, with the echo of the ball still bouncing in the background, Coach Carter's lips on mine didn't just feel like fire, it felt like the truth. The kind of truth that strips you raw. The kind that leaves you exposed, trembling, but desperate for more. When he pulled away, his chest heaving, his eyes wild, I knew what he was going to say before he even opened his mouth. "This can't." I pressed my forehead to his, cutting him off. Don't you dare say it again." His hands tightened on my arms, like he wanted to push me away and pull me closer all at once. "You don't get it. If anyone finds out, they won't," I whispered. "I'm not stupid, but I'm not letting you run from this either." For a second, he just stared at me, searching my face for something. Maybe regret, maybe weakness, but all he found was the same hunger I saw in him. And that scared him more than anything. He pushed away, pacing across the gym floor, running a hand through his short, damp hair. "You're just a kid," he muttered. I laughed bitterly. "Don't pull that card. You and I both know I've seen more of the world's ugly than most grown men." His jaw clenched, but he didn't deny it. And that silence told me everything. The days after that kiss were torture. On the surface, nothing had changed. Coach Carter still barked orders at practice, still made us run until our legs gave out, still kept that mask of cold discipline glued to his face. But I saw the cracks. The way his eyes lingered on me a beat too long when I wasn't looking. The way his voice faltered when he called my name. The way his hand brushed against mine when he passed me the ball, and lingered just a fraction longer than it should have. It was like living in a dream I wasn't allowed to touch. I should have been happy with that much, but I wasn't. I wanted more. I wanted all of him. And the more I wanted, the more reckless I became. One Friday night, after a game we barely won, I found myself wandering the empty hallways of the school. Most of the team had gone out to celebrate, but I couldn't. My chest was buzzing with the electricity of his nearness. When I pushed open the locker room door, there he was, alone, sitting on the bench, head in his hands, sweat still glistening on his skin. "You don't celebrate?" I asked softly, leaning against the doorframe. He looked up, startled, then sighed. "Someone has to clean up this mess." I stepped inside, the air thick with the smell of soap and leather. "Or maybe you just wanted to be alone." His eyes flicked to mine. "And maybe you shouldn't be here." I smirked, moving closer. "Then tell me to leave." He didn't. He just watched me approach, every muscle in his body taut like a bowstring. When I sat beside him, our knees brushing, the silence between us screamed louder than words. I reached out, slow, deliberate, letting my fingers graze his. He flinched but didn't move away. "I can't stop thinking about you," I admitted, voice raw. "And I don't want to." His breath hitched, and for a moment, I thought he'd finally let go. But instead, he stood, putting distance between us. "You don't understand what you're asking," he said, his voice hoarse. I stood too, anger flaring. "Then explain it to me, coach. Because all I see is two people who want the same thing, and you're the only one pretending it's not real." His chest rose and fell, his fists clenching at his sides. "It's not that simple." "Bullshit," I snapped. "You're scared. That's all this is. You're scared of what people will think. Of losing your job. Of me." His silence was answer enough. And before I could stop myself, I closed the distance and kissed him again. This time he didn't resist. He crushed me against him, his lips desperate, his hands gripping my shirt like he was drowning, and I was the only thing keeping him afloat. It was messy. It was reckless. It was everything I'd been craving. When we finally broke apart, both of us gasping, he whispered against my lips, "This will destroy us." I smiled, breathless. Then let it. We started sneaking around after that. Late nights in the gym, quick touches in the shadows, words whispered in the dark that we'd never dare say in daylight. He was careful, always careful. But I could see the way he unraveled when we were alone. The way the cold, distant coach melted into someone soft, someone vulnerable, someone who needed me as much as I needed him. And God, did I love him for it. But nothing good stays hidden forever. It started with whispers, teammates noticing the way his eyes lingered on me, teachers raising eyebrows when I suddenly started showing up to class on time, doing my work, keeping my nose clean. And then came the night everything nearly fell apart. We were in his office, door locked, blinds drawn. My head rested on his shoulder, his hand tracing lazy circles on my arm. For once, the world felt quiet, safe, until a knock shattered it. "Coach?" It was Miller, the assistant coach. His voice muffled through the door. "You in there?" We froze. My heart hammered against my ribs. Carter's eyes widened, panic flickering across his face. He mouthed, "Hide," and I scrambled behind his desk just as the door handle turned. The office door creaked open and Miller stepped in. "Hey, the principal's looking for you. Something about tomorrow's schedule." Carter cleared his throat, voice steady despite the storm in his eyes. "Yeah, I'll be right there." "Everything okay?" Miller asked, suspicion lacing his tone. "Fine," Carter said quickly. Too quickly. Miller lingered for a second, then finally left, the door clicking shut behind him. I emerged from behind the desk, adrenaline still buzzing in my veins. That was close. Carter raked a hand through his hair, pacing. "Too close. We can't keep doing this. If anyone finds out..." I cut him off, grabbing his hand. "They won't. We'll be careful." He looked at me, anguish carved into his face. "You don't understand. They won't just take my job. They'll ruin me. And you," his voice broke. "They'll ruin you too." I tightened my grip, my chest aching. "Then let them try. I don't care. You're worth it." His eyes softened, pain and love battling in them. And in that moment, I knew we were on borrowed time. But I didn't care. I'd rather burn with him than live without him. Secrets have a way of clawing their way out, no matter how deep you bury them. For weeks, Carter and I lived in stolen moments. A brush of hands under the bleachers. A kiss in the dark of his office. Long nights where we whispered about dreams we never dared speak aloud. It was reckless, dangerous, and the happiest I'd ever been. But happiness is fragile. And ours was about to shatter. It happened after a big game. The gym was packed, the crowd roaring as we claimed victory. I scanned the bleachers, heart thumping when I spotted Carter standing near the back, arms crossed, the faintest trace of pride softening his usual sternness. And that's when I made the mistake. After the final whistle, adrenaline surging, I turned toward him before anyone else. Our eyes met, and for a split second the rest of the world faded. My grin widened, too raw, too intimate, and it was enough. Enough for people to notice. By Monday, whispers swirled through the halls. Teammates shot me strange looks. Teachers gave Carter long, measuring stares. And then, one afternoon, the principal called us both into his office. The air was heavy, suffocating. Carter sat rigid beside me, his mask firmly in place, while the principal cleared his throat. "Rumors are circulating," he said bluntly. "Inappropriate rumors. About the two of you." My stomach dropped. Carter spoke before I could. "They're false," he said firmly, his voice steady even as his hands clenched. "I run a disciplined team. That's all." The principal's gaze slid to me. "Is that true?" I opened my mouth, the truth burning on my tongue. But Carter's hand brushed mine, subtle, a warning. His eyes told me what his lips couldn't. "Don't ruin this. Don't ruin us." "Yes," I lied. "It's just gossip. Nothing more." The principal didn't look convinced, but after a long silence, he nodded. "Be careful. Both of you." We were dismissed, but the damage was done. That night, Carter showed up at my house. He didn't knock, just climbed through my window like he belonged there. His face was pale, his shoulders tense. "This has to stop," he said, his voice breaking. I shook my head, panic rising. No, don't do this. Not now. They're watching us. One slip and it's over. My job, your future, it'll all go up in flames. I grabbed his shirt, pulling him closer. I don't care about any of that. I care about you. His eyes shimmered, the ice finally cracking. And that's exactly why I have to end this. Because I care too damn much to drag you down with me. The words sliced through me. My chest ached. My throat burned. But I refused to let go. You think walking away will save me? It'll destroy me. He cupped my face, his touch trembling. You're stronger than you think. And then he kissed Mess off, desperate, final. When he pulled away, tears blurred my vision. Don't do this, I begged. But he was already gone. The weeks after were hell. He avoided me completely. Practice, he wouldn't look my way. In class, he kept his distance. It was like I'd ceased to exist. And the more he pushed me out, the more I spiraled. I stopped trying, stopped caring, picked fights again, skipped class. The old me, back in full force but emptier, hollower. Until the night everything came crashing down. It was late. The school was empty. I'd broken in, drunk and furious, hurling basketballs at the hoop until my arms ached. I didn't care who found me. I didn't care about anything anymore. Until Carter walked in. What the hell are you doing? He demanded, his voice sharp. I laughed bitterly. What does it look like? Destroying myself. Isn't that what you wanted? He strode across the court, grabbing the ball from my hands. You think this is a joke? You could get expelled, arrested. Good, I shouted. Maybe then you'll finally see that I can't do this without you. The words echoed in the empty gym. His face crumpled, all the walls he'd built finally collapsing. God damn it, he whispered. You think this has been easy for me? Every second I'm near you, I'm fighting not to fall apart. I tried to protect you, to protect both of us. But you're in my head, every damn day, and I can't. His voice broke. I can't stop loving you. Silence. The world tilted. My chest cracked open, raw and aching, but alive again. I stepped forward, slowly, until I was inches away. Then stop fighting, I whispered. This time, when our lips met, there was no hesitation, no fear, just love, messy, reckless, undeniable. The fallout came as we knew it would. Rumors spread. The administration launched an investigation. Carter was suspended pending review. The team whispered behind my back. Teachers stared, the world closing in. But through it all, we didn't hide anymore. We walked together. We faced it together. And in the end, the storm passed. Carter lost his job at the school, but not his future. He found another position, in a city where no one knew us. I graduated, against all odds, with him cheering louder than anyone at my ceremony. We left that small town behind the whispers, the judgment, the fear. We built something new, something ours. Looking back, I realize I was never really the hellraiser people thought I was. I was just a kid, lost and angry, waiting for someone to see me. And he did. He saw me when no one else dared to. He loved me when no one else would. And with him, I wasn't fire, wasn't destruction. With him, I was soft. With him, I was home. Because sometimes love doesn't come gentle. Sometimes it comes like a storm, wild, reckless, impossible to contain. And if you're lucky, you find someone willing to weather it with you. Thank you for listening. If you find it interesting, please like and subscribe to follow the next stories.